Hello everyone, my name is Ashish and you are watching the Ultimate Dev Academy. Welcome to another episode of JavaScript interview questions, and in this video we're going to be talking about prototypes in JavaScript. By the end of this video, you will have a complete understanding of prototypes, prototype chains, and prototype inheritance in JavaScript. So without further ado, let's roll the intro and get started. So let's start by creating an object. So I'll say let person equal to, we'll give it a property location. Let's set it to India. Then we can create a method, say greet. Will be a function. And in here, we'll say return hello, like this. So this is our object. Now let's try to access its property location. So we can say, of course, console.log person.location. And we should get India, right? As you can see that we have got India on the console. Now let's try to access another property. For example, I want to access name. So let's try to print name. And if I say person dot name like this, and you can see that we are getting undefined. And of course we should, right? Because the person does not have a property called name, right? Now let's try to do something else. Let's say console.log, and if I say person dot toString, what do we get then? And we are getting an object. Okay, so I'm not concerned about this output, but I'm definitely concerned why it is not giving us undefined. Here we tried to access a property called name and it was not present in this object, and we are getting undefined. Now toString is a method which is also not present in the person, but we are getting an output. So what could be the reason for this? Let's try to log the person on the console. If I say console.log person like this, and you can see that, okay, we have the location, we have the greet function, and then we have something called prototype. The prototype is object, okay, and if I expand this, we have a function named toString. Okay, that makes sense. So that is the reason why we are not getting undefined, because probably we're getting the object from here. So what is a prototype? Every object in JavaScript has a prototype, which acts as a blueprint or a skeleton for that object. When a property or method is accessed on that object, JavaScript first looks for that property on the object itself. If it can't find it, then it looks at the object's prototype and continues up the prototype chain. Now, wait a second. We will see what a prototype chain is. So, it continues up the prototype chain until it finds the property or it reaches the top of the chain. Okay. To understand this better, let's create another object. And I will call it student. So I'll say let student, and this will be another object. And here again we'll give two properties. Let's say name, and I'll give it my name, and we can say age. Let's give it some age, right? Now we can access the prototype of an object by using underscore underscore proto underscore underscore property. So how we can do that? We can say console.log, and if I say student dot underscore underscore proto underscore underscore, let's see what we get on the console. And you can see that we're getting an object. So it has these properties. It has constructor, has some properties, prototype of, and a lot of other things. And then again, it has another proto property. And if we check this, we get null. Okay. So let's try to set the prototype of the student as person. So what we can do is we can say student dot underscore underscore proto underscore underscore equal to person, like this. Now, if we try to access the student's location, right? We don't have any location property in our student object, but let's try to access the location property of the student object. So if I say console.log student dot location, and let's see what we get. And you can see that we have got India, right? So as I told you, when we try to access the location property of the student, it first checked the object itself. And of course, as you must have guessed, it was not there. So then the JavaScript engine went up to its prototype. So what was the student's prototype? We have set it here to person. So it went up to person and asked, okay, do you have a location property? And yes, the location property was here. And that's why we are getting the location India. In fact, we can see the complete prototype chain of an object. So what we can do is we can run a do while loop. So I'll say do, and in here we'll log the prototype of student. So we'll say console.log student dot underscore underscore proto, like this. We'll set student equal to student dot underscore underscore proto, like this, and we'll put a while statement. So the loop should run till the student is null. Okay, so till we have a value in student, this loop should run. And you can see here, the first is the person. After that, we have the object prototype, and then we have null. So basically, every object in JavaScript has some built-in properties which are defined in its prototype. Now, the prototype is itself an object, okay? So the prototype will have its own prototype, as you can see here, making what's called a prototype chain. The chain ends when we reach a prototype that has null for its own prototype. So as you can see, when we have reached null, the loop stopped, and that was the end of the prototype chain. Now, one important thing to note and take care of is that the prototype properties can be shadowed. So what does it mean? Shadowing the prototype property. Let me show you. So for example, you might be aware that we have this has own property. Okay, you can see we have this has own property to identify whether the object has a specified property as its own property or not. So if we do, for example, console.log student dot has own property, and if we pass a name here, you can see that we'll get true. Okay, what's the error? Okay, so we need to remove this do while loop because student is now null. Just comment this out. And now you can see that it's giving us true because student has the name property, as you can see here. Now, what if I define another method inside student? So if I say student dot has own property, and let this be a function. Let it take argument x, and in here we'll define return something else. Okay, like this. Now, if we try to access same thing, I'll just copy this and paste it here, and you can see that we're getting something else. So we are not getting true here, even though the name is a property of the student. Now, why this is happening? You might have guessed, because the JavaScript engine first looked inside the object itself for this particular method, and it found it. It found it here. and that's why it has returned and it did not go to its prototype. So generally, you should never change the default properties offered by the prototype, as it can change the predictable behavior of the default properties. Now, prototype is a fundamental concept in JavaScript and forms the basis for object-oriented programming model in JavaScript. That's it for the video. I hope you found this explanation helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.